What we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the tips that I've come up with for players over the last few years to help them create better characters. Now, these aren't mandatory things that you have to do every time you make a new character. Not at all. Far from it. What these are tips that can help new players or experienced players start to think of new dimensions for a character that will help them to have more fun while they're playing, as well as have an easier time coming up with characters that might fit better into the world. So, let's get started. Here's what I think is probably one of the most important questions that you ask yourself whenever you're creating a new character for a party-based RPG. And that question is, why is your character on a team? Because if you think about it, if your character's on a team, they need to be a part of that team for a reason. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about that. Maybe they have common interest with another party member. Maybe they're a relative of another party member. Or maybe they have a mission that they've been hired to do by a common NPC. Maybe everybody's a band of mercenaries. Maybe everybody's in the same military outfit. Maybe they're all members of the same school. But this is important just beyond thematic reasons. It's important because it allows you as a player to start to think of reasons why your character is going to play nice, or at the very least play along with the rest of the party. And the reason that that's important is because when you're playing a tabletop role-playing game, you're basically playing a team sport, in that you're not your team versus another team, but it's going to be your team working together. Now, there are plenty of examples of lots of fun movies and TV shows and books where you have hesitant allies or people who are really upset that they're working together, but they're still working together. You as a player know that you're going to be playing with a group of other people. So chances are you're going to need to create a character that can at least exist on a team with another group of people. I've seen plenty of players in my 20 plus years of doing this that have created characters that are these amazing standalone, complete tough guys or girls, and they don't need anybody, they don't want anybody, and the players keep finding reasons to be like, no, my character wouldn't really go along with the party. They want to go off on their own and follow their own path. And while that might be helpful and maybe not helpful, while it might be fun for that player to go off and focus on their own storyline, it's not really fair for the rest of the party. Because if you're not taking the time to assist other players in the collective storytelling process, you can end up as a bad teammate and it might create some feelings. So my best piece of advice, at least think of why the character that you're about to create would be on a team with other characters. That's just one place to start. Let's go on to the next one. Why is your character leaving home? And what do I mean by that? If your character is a well-to-do noble that has a lot of money and a vested interest in a family business, that's comfort, security, and probably loved ones that care about you. So why is this character getting up and leaving to go off on a life of risk, adventure, and possible death? There is fortune and glory, possibly, but there's also probably much more likely danger, damage, and peril. So why are they leaving home? What is it that they have to gain by going out into the world that they want to leave where they're at? Now, it could be a really easy answer. It could be that they don't have a home to go back to. Maybe they're an orphan. Maybe a war destroyed their hometown. Maybe there's an evil dictator that kidnapped their entire family. You don't have to always have a happy home life to go back to. But if you know why your character is leaving the nest, it can help to move the gears, so to speak, of creativity for you as a player to think of, okay, if my character is going to be leaving home and they do have a family and they do have a parent and they do have maybe a wife or a husband or children, what does this life of adventuring mean to them? And what does this life of adventuring mean to their relationship with their family? Is this something that they're going to try to maintain, a family and a life and an adventuring lifestyle? Think about Hawkeye from the second Avengers film. We didn't know that he had this whole family in the background the entire time, but he's out there risking his neck every single day, but he's got a wife and kids. So what does that look like for him as he's going through his day-to-day life? And what does that look like for your character if they have a family just waiting for them to come back home after they defeat the dragon? Let's talk about, why is your character adventuring? Now, it's a little bit different from why are they leaving home? Because if they're leaving home because their family's been kidnapped, that's an easy answer. But why are they adventuring? If their family doesn't necessarily have anything that they need to go help with, so if they're not kidnapped, if your character is not an orphan, if your character hasn't been abducted and trained in some mysterious shadow society of assassins or warriors or tradesmen or whatever, the point is, why are they out with a group of strangers, probably, risking their lives to go do these high-risk, potentially high-reward activities? So if you can think about a couple of different reasons for why they might be out there in the world doing all these kind of different things and putting themselves at risk and trying to fight for fortune and glory, is fortune and glory their main reason, or is it something else? So why is your character adventuring? Now, wrapping into another question that I like to ask right after why are they adventuring, because like I mentioned, adventuring is dangerous work. It sounds like fun, but chances are you run the risk of getting eaten, stabbed, bashed, falling off a cliff, drowning, burning alive, burned by acid, shocked by lightning, stabbed with a sword, stabbed with a spear, stabbed with a pitchfork, burned alive by a dragon while being eaten, swallowed by a whale. What is it that they have, burning desires inside of them, that make them want to go out and risk life and limb to do this kind of stuff? Are they just touched in the head? Do they have some kind of lack of regard for personal safety? And don't get me wrong, that's a fun character to play. I've played plenty of barbarians that way. A personal disregard for safety, that's a pro tip way to play a barbarian. But for any other class or any other type of game or anything like that, why is your character, if you're playing Shadowrun, willing to go out and do runs? If you're playing Pathfinder and you're a member of the Pathfinder Society, why are they out there trying to document these dangerous and rare creatures or locations or magical artifacts? If you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, why did you take the bond as a warlock? Why are you doing these things to put yourself in danger as a character? Consider why, as a character that you would create, they would put themselves into those positions where they could potentially die. It's an important question that I don't know if people ask themselves enough. And if you do ask yourself that question, I'm willing to bet that you're going to find answers that are a lot more specific and interesting when you create your character, other than, oh yeah, he's a warrior. He fights wars. That's what he does. All of these different questions can very easily gain impetus from one another, but the answer to what is your character's goal is potentially the biggest question that you get to answer as a player creating a new character. One of the best examples that I can give for a character with a specific goal that shaped their entire arc, their entire sense of being, is Inigo Montoya from the excellent film The Princess Bride. Now, Inigo Montoya has a very specific goal. He's looking for the man who killed his father that has an extra sixth finger. And what did that do to Inigo? He vowed to avenge his father because he loved him so much that he trained with the sword and sought the six-fingered man in order to deliver his ultimate line that everybody loves so well. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And that whole impetus and desire and goal just shapes his entire life. And if you listen to the first time that he ever actually meets the Dread Pirate Roberts, what does he say about the entire reason he's adventuring? Well, there's not much money in revenge. So that's why he travels around and does all these odd jobs as a criminal. Inigo's goal is that he wants to avenge his father, but everything that happens between the death of his father and the ultimate vengeance that he gets, spoilers, it's part of his goal. Everything that happens between A and Z is shaped by his desire to maintain and get vengeance. So what is your character's goal? Is it vengeance? Is it something that might be unattainable? Like maybe you want to rise to the top of your vampire clan if you're playing Vampire the Masquerade, or maybe you want to ascend if you're playing Mage the Ascension. Becoming the perfect servant of some kind of celestial god like Starfinder. All of these different goals are really lofty and maybe even unattainable, but at the same time, there's a big difference between a goal that your character has and they know about and that you play through them, or a goal that's just sort of like, yeah, I want to go out there and have fun. Now, there is a lot of things that can be fun to play around with the idea of a character that doesn't have a lot of fully formed goals. There's a lot to be said for those types of carefree and aloof characters, but maybe deep down they actually do have a goal that they just don't want to share. Maybe it's something that they haven't thought that they could trust the rest of the party with. Maybe that goal is the reason they've joined the party in the first place. And maybe that goal answers the question of, why are they leaving home? Why are they willing to put themselves out there at risk? Why are they willing to join a party? Now, I want to be clear, again, none of these questions are mandatory to be a top-level player by any stretch of the imagination. If you want to play some crazy leather-clad knife slinger who's got elven ears and a cybernetic enhanced arm, go for it. If it sounds like fun for you, do it. There's no reason that any one of these questions should stop you from having a good time. But if you're looking for a way to get more invested in a character that you're creating, think about some of these questions that we talked about today and see if any of them help spark some creative solutions to a question that you may not have thought to ask about any characters that you're creating. But if you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the subscribe button, maybe hit the like button. We're trying to grow. Either way, I'm Joe. Thanks for watching, and always have a good time adventuring.